My Late Shift at a Small Diner by Mia. Hi, my name's Mia. This happened a few months ago when I was working the late shift at a small diner. Late night shifts weren't exactly new to me. I needed the extra cash to cover rent. By midnight, the place was usually quiet with only a couple of regulars or truckers stopping by for coffee. That night, I was wrapping things up. Last table's clear, I told Carla, my manager, as I grabbed my coat. She just waved me off with her usual, "See you tomorrow, kid. Get home safe." I smiled, but truth be told, walking home alone at night always made me uneasy. The streets around the diner weren't well lit, and once you got past the main road, it felt like you were the only person left in the world, accompanied by nothing but the echo of your own footsteps. As soon as I stepped outside, the cold night air hit me. I zipped up my jacket and started walking. That's when I noticed him, a man leaning against the wall across the street. He wore dark clothes and had a baseball cap pulled low over his face. I told myself it was nothing, just some random guy hanging around late at night. Still, something about him made me quicken my pace. By the time I reached the end of the block, I glanced back. He was walking now, slowly, deliberately, as if he didn't want to lose sight of me. My heart started pounding. Was he following me, or was I just being paranoid? I didn't want to stick around and find out. I picked up my pace and turned a corner, hoping to lose him. But when I glanced over my shoulder again, he was still there, keeping the same distance. Panic set in. I pulled out my phone and tried calling my roommate, Liz. "Come on, pick up," I whispered, but it went straight to voicemail. Great. Ahead, I spotted a convenience store. Without thinking twice, I hurried toward it and slipped inside, TAFE, trying to act normal despite the fact that I was practically gasping for air. The cashier, a guy about my age, scrolling through his phone, looked up and immediately noticed something was off. "Everything okay?" he asked. "There's a guy following me," I said quietly, glancing toward the door. The man wasn't there anymore. The cashier walked over to the window and checked. "I don't see anyone," he said, looking genuinely concerned. I stayed in the store for a while, pretending to browse the shelves while I tried to calm down. After a few minutes, I figured it was safe and decided to take a different route home. I kept my eyes open the whole way, but I didn't see him again. By the time I reached my apartment building, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I locked the lobby door behind me and practically ran up the stairs to my floor. My hands were still shaking as I fumbled with my keys, but once I got inside, I felt safe, or so I thought. I double-checked the locks on the front door, poured myself a glass of water, and finally started to relax. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Liz. "Sorry, I was asleep. Everything okay?" I quickly texted back, letting her know I was fine now. After setting my phone down, I turned off the kitchen light and headed toward my bedroom. That's when I heard it, a faint rustling sound coming from outside my apartment window. I froze. I live on the second floor, so there shouldn't be anyone out there. Slowly, I crept toward the window and peeked through the blinds. At first, I didn't see anything, just darkness. But as my eyes adjusted, I noticed him. The man from earlier. He was standing on the fire escape just a few feet from my window. My heart nearly stopped. How did he get up there? I backed away and grabbed my phone, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. 911, what's your emergency?" "There's a man outside my window," I whispered. "He's on the fire escape. I don't know how he got up here, but I think he's trying to get in." The operator assured me that the police were on their way. Meanwhile, the man stood there, tapping on the glass softly, almost like he wanted to taunt me. Minutes felt like hours. Eventually, I heard the sound of sirens approaching, and just like that, the man turned and vanished down the fire escape. By the time the police arrived, he was gone. I gave them a description and everything, but they couldn't find him. They promised to patrol the area, but that didn't do much to ease my nerves. I spent the rest of the night sitting by the front door, clutching a kitchen knife and jumping at every little sound. The next morning, after the sun came up, I cautiously checked the fire escape. That's when I noticed something sitting on the window ledge, a crumpled receipt from the diner. He'd been watching me longer than I realized, and to this day, I wonder if he'll ever come back. The Kid During My Night Shift at 7-Eleven by David. Hey, My name's David, and this happened when I was working the late night shift at a 7-Eleven. It was one of those stormy nights, wind howling, rain pouring down like crazy. There were barely any customers, just a few people hanging around, probably waiting for the rain to let up. My shift mate, Jack, was busy mopping up because water kept seeping in through the door. "Man, the shop's losing money tonight," Jack joked as he wrung out the mop for what felt like the 100th time. "At least we're still getting paid," I said with a shrug. It wasn't like we could do anything about the weather. We headed back to the counter, laughing about how pointless it was to keep mopping when more water kept coming in. That's when it happened. The door suddenly flew open with a loud bang. It slammed against the wall so hard that Jack and I barely dodged out of the way. We turned to see who or what had opened it, but there was no one there, just the wind howling outside. "Strong wind tonight, huh?" Jack said, trying to play it cool. I nodded, but something about it didn't sit right with me. A few minutes later, I noticed a kid standing at the entrance. He couldn't have been more than 9 or 10 years old. The kid looked rough, his clothes were torn, and he was drenched from head to toe. His skin had this strange, wrinkled texture, like he'd been standing in water for way too long. I felt sorry for him, so I didn't tell him to leave, and neither did Jack. The kid walked over to the ice cream section, leaving a trail of black water on the floor behind him. I could see Jack looking at me, clearly thinking the same thing I was. This was going to be a nightmare to clean up, but neither of us had the heart to kick him out. As I watched the kid struggle to open the fridge, I noticed something strange. His hands, his clothes, everything was covered in thick black mud. Before I could react, he turned to look at me, and I swear I saw black liquid streaming down his face like tears. His eyes were filled with sadness, like he wanted something but couldn't say it. I was about to step out from behind the counter when Jack's voice snapped me out of it. "Hey man, there's a customer waiting." I blinked, and suddenly the kid was gone. Just like that, no muddy footprints, no black water on the floor. Nothing. It was like he'd never been there at all. A few days later, Jack mentioned something that made my blood run cold. He told me about a street kid he used to give ice cream to, a kid who had drowned in the creek near our store. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told Jack, "Do you think that was his ghost we saw that night?" Jack gave me this weird look. "What are you talking about? No kid came in that night. The wind blew the door open, remember?" To this day, I don't know what to believe. But every time I work a late shift and hear the wind howling outside, I can't help but wonder if that kid will come back looking for something, or maybe someone. My Late Shift at the Warehouse by Eric. Hey, I'm Eric, and this story happened during my late shift at a warehouse. I worked the night shift packing and loading trucks. Most nights were quiet, and I liked it that way. Just me, a couple of other guys, and the faint hum of machines in the background. On this particular night, things felt off. It started with the lights flickering. Now, that wasn't completely unusual. The building was old, and we'd had issues with the wiring before. But for some reason, it made the place feel eerie. Around 2 a.m., I was working in the back corner of the warehouse where we stored heavy pallets. It was always a little darker there because the overhead lights didn't fully reach that section. As I loaded the last pallet onto a dolly, I heard something, a faint sound like shuffling footsteps. I froze and listened. Everyone else should have been up front near the loading dock. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing off the concrete walls. No answer. I brushed it off, thinking maybe it was one of the guys grabbing something nearby. I finished loading the dolly and wheeled it toward the dock. That's when I saw it, a shadow moving in the far corner of the warehouse. "Hey, who's there?" I called out again, louder this time. Still no answer. I walked toward the corner, feeling uneasy. The air felt colder, and I swear it was too quiet. No hum of machines, no clanking metal, just silence. When I reached the corner, there was no one there, but something caught my eye. A small pile of footprints in the dust, leading toward the emergency exit. At this point, I was freaked out. I radioed the other guys to ask if anyone was messing around. They all said no, and in fact, they were standing by the loading dock together. I didn't know what to think, but I wasn't about to stick around that corner by myself. I returned to the main area, keeping an eye on the emergency exit in case someone tried to sneak back in. But for the rest of the shift, nothing else happened. No more flickering lights, no shadows, no strange sounds. When the morning crew came in, I mentioned what I'd seen to my supervisor. He gave me a weird look and said, "That's not the first time someone's reported something like that. A few months back, a guy on the late shift claimed he saw someone wandering around, but when security checked the cameras, they didn't find anything." I laughed it off at the time, but honestly, I wasn't so sure. Was it just a prank, or was there really someone or something lurking around that night? I don't work the late shift anymore, but I still think about it sometimes. Whatever it was, I hope I never run into it again.